Welcome back to the Senate Committee on Government Operations Committee meeting of Friday, January 16th. We're going to take up another stab at S23, the act relating to the use of synthetic media in elections. We're joined again by the ranking member of the House counterpart, Representative Shay Waters Evans, and Rick Sagel, our legislative counsel. For those of you that weren't with us yesterday, there were some concerns raised here about some of the changes that the House made to the bill that we sent over, which unfortunately ran out of yardage and didn't get messaged over to us until after the veto session in June. So this was our first look at it yesterday. So I'm going to see whether Representative Waters Evans would want to go first and kind of give us well, that may be an unfair thing to do. Tell us how your committee felt about what we had suggested, whether they kind of went, oh, yeah, we didn't think about that, or in any fashion that you choose to give us sort of the reaction.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Rep. Shay Waters Evans from Charlotte. I did go back. We had an informal conversation. It all came rushing back to us in a wave of, oh, yikes, we forgot we did this. All of the drama surrounding it, and then we really immersed ourselves in it again for a minute. But I think it's what I mentioned when I was talking to you all yesterday, which is that the changes that we made in the House were because there were many who were concerned about free speech, and because there were concerns that as it came to us from you all, that it was a little too broad and it wasn't specific enough that it would withstand a court challenge. Right. We really were hoping to pass something that met those standards. That was a legal law, and that was something that we could all stand behind and defend. So when I brought it up with my committee yesterday, there were definitely some people like, oh, but we made those changes for really good reasons, and we all think that we're doing everything for good reasons. But that was the general feeling is that we were. It wasn't just tinkering with it just for the sake of tinkering, but because we were really thinking about the long-term effects, the long-term future of this legislation.
And liabilities.
Yes. And there was one thing I wanted to bring up with you, some extra sort of information I got that I remember last year when we were talking, we were afraid that this was going to happen, and then it did, which is that there was an executive order that was signed December 11th of last year by the president that is trying to limit what states can do as far as AI laws, because the reasoning of the president was that this field is growing and it needs to be
Top
down, kind of, managed as a country, not as the individual state.
Okay.
But there hasn't been a law passed by Congress, so they can't tell us what to do yet, state by state. So I just wanted to read you a couple of things. I have my glasses today. Thank you, Senator, for yesterday. So I think this is why we need to be as specific as possible. And I think why it's important just to think about, at least with some of the tweaks that we made over in the House. And because it's just, some of the language is interesting, but in this executive order, it said, we remain in the earliest days of this technological revolution and are in a race with adversaries for supremacy within it. Ooh, very dramatic. So, but this is the tone that we're taking right when we're talking about this legislation. And so it does say it wants to forbid state laws that conflict with policy set forth in this executive order. And it wants to check the most onerous and excessive laws emerging from the states that threaten to stymie innovation. That's the purpose of all of this. The consequence, I guess, and this is, to be clear, being challenged in the courts, this executive order is, but still it stands for now. And it establishes an AI litigation task force. And what that task force is going to do is look into state laws that, in the opinion of the federal administration, that are trying to make laws about AI that are that are restrictive, that are going against the administration's policies. So the thing that worries me is that the consequence of violating that would be, the acronym is BEAD, and now I can't remember what it stands for. But funding, it's
The broadband.
broadband,
EAD.
yes, BEAD, and we got a grant, I think last September. Maybe last year for $180 million. For the Northeast Kingdom broadband. And so, not that we should be rolling over and playing by the rules because we want the money, but also it is something I think to think about, which is that if they do decide to withdraw funding because of a law that we've made that they think goes against their policy, then that would be significant. So my thought is make it as specific as possible to accomplish the goal of what you started, which is addressing AI in elections and how they affect the outcome.
Senator White.
Thank you, Chair Collins. So my understanding was that was for only non-deployed BEAD funds. So since we've already received the funding.
Perhaps. Do you trust?
No, but again, the way the executive order was
Yeah.
written, it's my understanding it was for non-deployed BEAD funds. So it was a contingency.
We already got all that money already.
Yeah, so I was just thought.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if you
But even
know.
so, we have other AI areas that we've been addressing in AI. We will be.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that's a conversation for all of those pieces. Absolutely.
Okay,
Just-
point taken off.
Yeah, in the context of this law, I think it's just something to think about, which is that they're going to be looking at new, like scrutinizing new legislation.
Not because we protect Americans, and so we just want to encourage.
Will we be extorted or not? Who knows?
Aha.
So
Well, I don't think it matters what we do, we might be extorted.
we do have a suggestion of a proposal of amendment
Great.
to share. And before we leave today, please make sure I reference a conversation that I had with the House Judiciary Chair, Martin Lalonde, with respect to both the judiciary and the Attorney General's office weighing in on this bill and some concerns they had, which would appear to be okay at the moment, and we don't need to concern ourselves with them. But I want to read it, at least get it on the record that we did recognize they expressed some concerns about both the civil and criminal penalties contained in the bill. So unless you have something more, Shay, maybe we'll move to the proposal of our amendment. See how you feel about it. We could certainly take the weekend
Yeah.
to let the other body take a look and see how they feel. So Rick, if you want to walk us through the proposal.
Thank you, Rick Sagel, Office of Legislative Counsel. Can I start with a couple of things, Mr. Chair?
Certainly.
So the AI executive order, I'm doing a summary of that order next Friday in House Commerce, if you all want to watch, or I'm not quite ready to talk about it now because that's next Friday. I have other business to attend to, but that should be helpful for not just me, but all the AI stuff that's going to come before us in the coming weeks and months. Secondly, the chair brought up.
And data privacy. I mean, it's not just AI specific. There's also a bunch of data privacy work that did.
Yeah, but the AI,
It'll affect.
the executive order is specific to AI. So does that affect data privacy? Probably not, but other bills could also include data privacy, but also AI. Secondly, the chair mentioned the civil penalty. So there is no criminal. I want to make that clear. There's no criminal penalty in this bill, even the amendment. There was concern about the civil violations language that was added by the House.
Yes.
That I didn't walk through yesterday, because it was as a request from the AG. I would, if the AG is okay with it, it's their language, that they wanted to put in the bill, and the state's attorney's office. So, if they're okay with it, that's good to hear. But obviously,
I'll read
welcome to
Martin's.
Yeah. Okay, so what I have here is draft 1.1 of a proposed amendment to the bill. It's a instance of amendments. And my understanding is there were two really major concerns with the language as passed by the House. First, the major amendment here is the definition section. So, Senator, I don't know if you've seen this type of amendment before, and maybe a little bit of background how this works. So this is a what you see on the screen would replace the language that's coming out of the House bill. It's not a strike all amendment, it's just specific language. So what you're seeing would replace the definition section that is currently in the bill. You don't see the old language, just the new language. So the language being proposed, deceptive and fraudulent synthetic media, means synthetic media that appears to a reasonable person, no change yet, to be a realistic representation of an individual.
Okay.
The House version was a political candidate.
Wait. I am now looking at the right version then. I'm sorry. I'm being Senator Clarkson from yesterday. This isn't on our, the proposed amendment that's on our thing says something different than that. It says political candidate speech.
No, you would have only received this particular one probably about 20 minutes, maybe half an hour ago.
Oh, this is in our email. This is not the one on the legislative website.
This is website. Yeah, it's website.
It is on the, okay. Could I?
It's draft 1.1.
Yeah, I don't have it.
Okay.
Okay, so it appears to be a reasonable person, to be a realistic representation of an individual that does any of the following. So again, first change is the House version limits it to a political candidate. So this broadens it a little bit to any individual. It could be Arnold Schwarzenegger. It could be Senator Colin Moore. It doesn't have to be a political candidate at this point. That does any of the following. A, injures the reputation of a political candidate. So this remains from the House, where I have it restructured to kind of make it easier to read. This stays from the House versions. This is the defamation piece.
Okay. So if you could.
Or B, attempts to unduly influence the outcome of an election, including a public question, which appears on ballots, by providing materially false information to voters. So this is kind of the squishy one, but it's my attempt to kind of thread the needle of the committee wanting to not just limit it to a reputation harm and not just in the House version unduly influence the outcome of the election. You want to ensure that public questions, issue-based things are included. It still has to be an individual though. So it still has to be, kind of keep using Arnold Schwarzenegger, have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger saying something that he didn't say that would influence, that would either defame a candidate or influence this ballot question in a materially false way. So what that means is a voter must rely on that. It must be a substantial thing that you're being lied to about, like the Joe Biden robocall. I bring that up because that is a very well-known example. It's literally a fake Joe Biden voice telling voters the wrong time and day of the election. I think that's what it was. So that's kind of an example of the material. If he said, hey, the sky's red tomorrow, is that materially false information? No, you're not going to not vote because he said the sky is red. That's a really bad example. That's one that can't come to my head. Senator Wilson?
I think they know the answer to this, but I am not an attorney, and so I just want to make sure. I recognize that the first line is that piece about injuring the reputation. In the second line, would that also apply to artificially positive information? Because that was sort of one of the things that we were concerned about is, if AI reproduced Senator Sanders saying he thinks I'm the best person in the whole wide world and you would vote for me, but he never said that.
Right.
Would that also be captured in this?
Yes, if it's deemed to be materially false information. And
Yeah,
that's why it's squishy, right? It's so something I'm going to bring up also I have the court case. I'm going to show you some lines because you can hear from what I say, but having a judge kind of read you the important things is also important to see. It's also what is negative to one person is positive to another person. So Senator Hobson, Senator Sanders saying good things about you. For you, maybe that helps, but for someone who's on the other side of the political spectrum, that may be a bad thing. Both are deceiving, but are they materially false information that would lead to a voter to substantially change his or her vote?
But he never said that. Is that materially false?
No, there has to be something else that would deceive a voter, right? That's the question. Is that this statement that he didn't make that was aired, was it materially false information that a voter relied on to?
How would that not deceive a voter if the person never said it and my campaign or someone is saying that he did?
It depends on how important that statement is. So if it's a statement that is really critical, that's why it's going to be. The judge and jury are going to have to hear what the statement is, right? And again, the Joe Biden thing is a very clear example. That's materially false. Bernie Sanders saying you're a really bad candidate, or a really good candidate. No, it's not clear. It isn't.
But he didn't say it.
Yeah.
Right, but that's not the end of it. That is not in of itself going to be a violation of the bill if it were passed.
I choose him because he's so popular. So it would have like,
Sure.
like in the state of Vermont, we have numbers saying, 80% of the state is like, yay, Bernie. Maybe 80% of voters. So I choose him as someone because it sort of crosses the spectrum, and
Yeah.
one would assume that that would have an impact on that 80% that is supportive.
So let me maybe this will help me take a step
Okay.
back. Defamation, in order for a statement or something to be defamatory, it has to be demonstrably false. Bernie Sanders saying you're a good person or a bad person, that's not demonstrably false or true. That's an opinion. So an opinion is never going to be defamatory.
Hmm.
So think of it as, again, lying to people about the time of the election, that is demonstrably false or true. Saying that Becca White is a good person, that is an opinion. That is an opinion that somebody would have. And yes, it may hurt your chances, but it's not materially false information because it's neither false. It's neither true nor false.
I guess the spot that I just get sort of hung up is if the falseness of it is that the person did not say it.
Yeah.
Right, but you're right. I understand, but you cannot restrict speech just because it's not correct speech. There has to be something else. There has to be some harm.
Would Senator Sanders have a case for defamation because
Sure.
someone is saying that he said things he didn't say?
Would it hurt his reputation?
I don't know. Maybe.
Can I just ask?
Senator White.
So the term endorsed has like real meaning in political candidacies. So I feel like if I were thinking about this example, a materially false statement could be an endorsement, like that in and of itself. So it may not be the qualifications or the characteristics of that person, but if there was a fake endorsement, that in and of itself is claiming a truth about someone that is inaccurate, because you can or you cannot endorse someone. So I do, you get what I'm saying? So I do think if there was a video, an AI video of someone of note saying, I endorse this person, that's materially false because that person is not endorsing or they're not taking a stance on the election. So that is one piece to it that I would agree with. Okay, but yeah, I'm really appreciative of so far where we've gotten in this amendment. I think it captures what we talked about as a committee. So thank you for that. Just I'll say it captures my feelings in subsections A and B. So thank you.
Any other questions so far for Rick? Okay,
The only change to subdivision 2 is changing. So synthetic media means an image, audio recording, or video recording of an individual, not political candidate. And that just matches up with the definition of deceptive synthetic media. And then removing the without the consent of the candidate. That was a concern of the committee, just a couple members of the committee. And that's not really from my perspective, First Amendment, that's not an issue. That's more of if you have a candidate that wants an AI video done of them for whatever reason that is harmful in one way, that would provide that person to do that. But I understand that you may not want that loophole provided to candidates to do this.
Okay.
Yeah. So questions about those two?
No, I think
no,
captured.
The other change is on the disclosure piece. So not changing language, adding language that says disclosures, either audio or written on a video or image. Those disclosures included in synthetic media shall be made available for individuals with disabilities. So I really thought about how to word this because you cannot, if you have a video that has the words that are required, and I try to correct. This media has been created or intentionally manipulated by digital technology or artificial intelligence. So if you have a vision disability, how do you work that without making it requiring it to be very, very large? And I thought about, well, what if it's available in a different way that someone can access either on a website, or I think it's open to interpretation how they would do that. But I'm happy to hear feedback.
I have a suggestion, because I do have concerns asking someone with a disability to take an extra step to get the information. And so I wonder if it might be okay to state that disclosure is included in synthetic media pursuant to the subdivision shall utilize universal design.
Oh,
Do we need to define that, what that is?
I mean, there's a
not in this statute. do we?
federal definition, but if we do, I'd be happy to work with you on a definition, but the sort of general sense is that it creates content that is inherently accessible universally.
Okay.
Um,
Why wouldn't we change the average viewer language that's currently in statute to that is appear in a size that is universally, whatever the phrase is that you use,
utilizes universal design.
universal design. That,
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do that. I actually, yes, that's what I was suggesting,
Okay.
do exactly that.
Okay, so let me just bring us back to where we are with this. And with all due respect to Senator White and Senator Bihovsky's concerns about whether something is true or not, whether all we're doing is saying, if it isn't, you gotta let people know.
Yeah, well, no.
Right.
That's all we're doing. It isn't that we have to have some test to see whether or not Bernie Sanders really said what he said. All we're saying is if they did, it's gotta be said that it wasn't him, or it could be.
But we're not saying that, because the way it applies, it would apparently not apply. We would not have to tell people that it was AI and false if we simply made an AI video of him saying an opinion that he didn't
Well,
say.
then he would have broken the law, whoever that was. And so be it. And I think I also understand, and we'll have Rick give us that judges thing in a second if he wants. I completely understand and it seemed like 4 of the 5 of us went through a lot of this last year. The squishier, forgive me for using that adjective, but the squishier we make something, the less likely it will hold up in court. And I think we need to keep our focus on that. If we really want to pass something that's got some teeth to it, we need to make it as likely to pass judicial muster as possible. So those are the only 2 things I wanted to say. I'm fine with the changes here. I was fine with the way that the House came back. I didn't really have that much of an issue, but that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I would just say I would be in favor of moving forward these sections as amended as our committee
Yeah.
amendment, but I do want to see if there's a way we can expand on subsection, the second instance of amendment, if there's a better.
Disability thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would vote for it now, but I'm also open to, I don't think we're in a rush, and if there's a better way to do it, I want it to be accessible to folks.
Yes,
We ran
Shane.
with that, the universal design.
Okay, so we are doing it that way, okay.
so it's the committee.
Go ahead, Jay.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention, there's not a rush, but time is important
Oh, yes.
because, if we want to implement this for the primaries, this year, it would need to happen pretty quickly. Probably by the end of February, we should have to.
And in
Well, I
their
think
version, it's
By the end
on,
of February,
Yes,
because I think it's effective on fast.
yeah.
Right,
That's
so-
I'm double checking that.
yeah,
Your version
That's
is
why
on.
I'm rushing. Yeah, it is.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Just wanted to note that for everybody.
Until the end of January.
No,
Like,
I
Yeah,
think
I
we can
think
do this next week,
Yeah, okay.
but now it'll be up to you guys to concur with us.
You know,
We know how it works.
Can I-
we know how it
it
was.
was 6-4, it was 6-4-1, just telling me out of the House Government Operations. Committee.
Oh,
It was.
So
we like shutout too.
could I quickly show you the opinion?
Certainly.
Because again, I've been telling you all that First Amendment concerns me, but I'm just less counsel. I do have, and it's also just one judge. This is not Supreme Court. It's a federal judge in California, but because it is very similar to the Vermont bill that we have suggested here, I do want to show you a couple lines I think will help you see where I'm coming from. And then, again, do what you want, because 26 states have done this. And this is one judge, one state that has had it law thrown out. Okay. So when I highlight a couple lines, this is the fun part of my job. Okay. So the plaintiff in this case is a guy that made deceptive media, and he was pulled by the state and stopped it. Okay, so he's sued. So the plaintiff and defendant California both agree that at a minimum, strict scrutiny is appropriate for this type of law. And it's, again, a law that discriminates on the First Amendment. So even California admitted, yes, this is a strict scrutiny law. So the second highlight there, the U.S. Supreme Court has recognized that a state indisputably has a compelling interest in preserving the integrity of its election process. So I mentioned last time that in order for the government to restrict speech, there must be a really good reason, a compelling reason. So here you have a judge saying that, yeah, you can restrict election speech. And I highlight this one because we've all talked about it, the robocalls.
Yep.
Even the court's like, yeah, this is an example of a bad thing that's happened. The 2024 Biden, New Hampshire primary robocalls. Okay. While the court acknowledges that California may have a compelling interest in protecting election integrity, the tools it deploys to achieve its interests must be the least restrictive means of achieving such a goal when significant speech issues are at stake. So this is the whole narrowly tailored. Yeah, this is how we kind of phrase this. Okay. And the court here, interestingly, gave California some examples. Here's how you could do it. Their restriction is, I think it's also 90 days. It's a bit broader than what the House produced. It's kind of closer to what came out of the Senate. For instance, California could limit the law to reach false speech that causes legally cognizable harms, like false speech that actually cause voter interference, coercion, or intimidation. California could also limit the statute to reach to factual statements that are demonstrably false, like the time, date, place, and manner of voting. And secondly, or thirdly, another narrow construction might be California to limit the plaintiffs to political candidates who actually harmed by the speech. And that's kind of what came out of the House, right? It has to be the political candidate. But this is one court, this is one judge, there's 25 other states where it's still somewhat like this on the books.
Senator Morley.
Does the Senate Double Ops amendment weaken the House version?
Weaken in what way?
Oh, yeah,
Does it make it less constitutional?
Yes.
So as this amendment I presented today, in my opinion, yes, but that's because it broadens.
No,
the,
from this place.
Yes.
I just
Right.
want to make sure I understand.
It's not necessarily unconstitutional. If a court may, and in fact, this court may get appealed to, the Ninth Circuit in California may say, actually, this is fine. And then the Supreme Court may say something totally different. So it's one of the parts of this frustrating process.
Senator Bielski.
So that answered part of my question, which was that this was not within a circuit court and
And it's a circuit court. It is the federal circuit court. So it's going.
this decision came from a federal circuit court.
No, so it came from a district court, and the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals would be the next court.
Okay,
It's within the federal system.
got it. But it's not,
It's not on the ballot.
thank you.
Right.
Are any of the 26 states that have laws similar like this in any state of appellate?
I've only seen the Minnesota challenge get thrown out because they didn't have standing, which we talked about last
Yeah.
time. So no other law that I've seen have even been challenged.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is helpful. As you know, don't love this. I wish we could just ban it, but I recognize we live where we live.
I'm ready to ban it with you.
I know. I think I can live with this middle space.
Okay.
I don't, I mean, if they haven't, if the 26 other states haven't even been challenged, I don't know why we are
Worried.
like worrying so much.
It's my due diligence.
I know,
Yeah.
no, and I appreciate that. I think that we're sitting at a point in time where sometimes we've got to take bold things and maybe it gets challenged, but then we know where the line is.
Right.
Like currently we don't know, and we're like running scared and compromising with ourselves over something that hasn't even been challenged.
And so the reason I highlighted, it's a good point, sir. But the reason I highlighted this is because the court cites like, well, these things that I quoted are court precedent. And this decision does quote some new stuff that I didn't highlight because it's arguable. But the stuff about elections are important and the government can regulate to some extent, like we talked about last time. You're required to put paid for by your campaign. These things are legitimate government uses of restriction. However, the further you get from that good interest, the squishier it gets. And you just, that's it. And yeah, you find out where the line is. And I'm trying to get you just before the court and said, you can't do this, don't do this. And they haven't said you can't do this, at least not the Supreme Court, but they said, don't pass this line that where you're unconstitutionally restricting speech.
No, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're doing your job. And I also know that from my own Supreme Court experience that we tend to look to circuit courts, particularly our circuit. I've seen instances where laws that were done in other states, our Vermont Supreme Court has been like, yeah, it doesn't really apply here because that's different. So I think that we're worrying about something at this point that hasn't happened anywhere else. And yes, we've got a ruling out of California, and that very well could be appealed and overturned in appeals court, and we just don't know.
So does anyone want to change anything about the amendment? I know there was some
Just,
discussion about using different language to indicate the disability piece.
And Rick, I sent you a page from the US Department of Labor where they outline what is universal design.
Thank you.
Yes.
So is the committee on board with that amendment?
Yeah.
Coming
Whatever
on
universal
Tuesday.
code was that
Universal design, yeah.
design?
Yeah.
It will mean you have to come back Tuesday and show us a new amendment, but
Mr. Chair, before we move on from this, who's gonna be presenting the amendment?
oh gosh, I think it can be any one of us.
Did you report the bill?
Yeah, I feel like I reported the bill, but I'm also happy to not. I guess the reason I ask is so if I didn't need to, if I wanted to do.
Oh, I
The chair did, yes.
Great.
Okay.
That's my.
I love
it's been a
that
while.
memory. That seems like the right memory.
What if I wrote that down?
Okay, I'll report.
Thank
Rick,
you.
if you feel like it makes sense to put a definition, even though there's something existing on a
Yeah.
page in the Department of Labor, I think probably we'd be okay with the definition of universal
Yeah.
design. Okay.
I'll kind of check and see how complicated.
But we'll have you come back in if we can. We're gonna go over next week now. Tuesday, we don't have really a lot on the agenda. It's the governor's budget to discuss. And then after we'll get together. So if you could come back Tuesday afternoon, 3-ish. And it should be fairly quick if all we're doing is adding a definition.
I should be from just double check.
Okay.
It should be free.
And that will give Shay a chance to share what we've decided to do. And we will take a vote. We'll take a committee vote on the amendment.
Sure.
And
It'll be on you.
So
I have just,
when we're coming back, get it to you or 2:30.
2:30.
moved from 2:30 to 4 on Tuesday.
Excuse me.
How straight.
Well, we could wait from 2:30.
Are you guys done after this?
Yes.
If you give me 15 minutes, I can type up an amendment.
Okay.
It's up, it's just,
It's only 2:35.
right.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine.
If the definition change, is that you're okay with the definition?
Yeah.
As amended, okay.
Okay.
So you just want the universal design language? Yeah, I just need 15,
All right.
maybe 20 minutes to be safe.
And yep.
Um,
And let me read
Oh, listen.
Martin's piece just so we can hopefully end this. Senator Collimer, as I mentioned yesterday, as we were walking to the State House, was last night, we took testimony in House Judiciary on H 541, which addresses voter intimidation. The bill includes an identical civil investigation provision that is also included in S 23. We had testimony from the Defender General and the Superior Judge, Judge Zoney, that raised some concerns with the language. I see, however, that the language in S 23 is identical or nearly identical as in statute from Title 17, Section 2904, at least since 2017. In other testimony we heard on H 541, the Secretary of State suggested that we consolidate all of the civil investigation sections that would be found after S 23 and H 451 in 3 different locations in Title 17 to one title-wide civil investigation section. Therefore, my suggestion is we do not have to worry about the civil investigation sections in S23 or H541 at this time, because the same provision in Title 17, Section 2904, has apparently not caused any problems in the past decade. Also, I plan to put in my first bill drafting request for the next biennium to be that consolidation and a rewrite of Title 17. So I took that to mean, don't worry about this. If need be, in the next biennium, if it needs to be amended, we can amend it. So with that in mind, we'll release Rick for a few minutes and be able to come back. And that way, Shay, you'll have the amendment. We just won't make it on the calendar until probably Wednesday. And Senator White?
Will we be voting this afternoon?
Sure, why not?
So we should get we can do a voting sheet.
Yeah, it'll be good practice. So let's go offline. I'll go over the agenda for next week while we're waiting for Rick to do his magic, and we'll be back here in 10 minutes or so, Rick?
15.
15 minutes.